Readers, hello. This video is about analyzing visual evidence, but let's cut right to it. It's also about vampires. And we'll get to them, those cape-wearing widows, peaked wonders of the mountains of Transylvania. But first, what do we even mean by visual evidence? Like textual evidence, sure, we know what textual evidence is. It's written language. How do we know there's potassium hydroxide in my soap? It's on the label. But how much potassium hydroxide? Visual evidence can tell us. Visual evidence includes the graphs, charts, tables, images, and illustrations that authors use in their texts. Authors include visual evidence to help readers better understand ideas because sometimes words just don't cut it. Visual evidence can help strengthen a written argument and help express complicated ideas. So, KOH, the potassium hydroxide, makes up 13.4% by weight of the soap. And sure, it could list that percentage on the label, but to my eye, seeing the number and the pie chart is more helpful. I can see at a glance that potassium hydroxide, labeled here in red, only makes up a small part of my soap. This is useful because if there were a lot more KOH than there already is, the soap would burn my skin when I used it. Soap chemistry! Visual evidence at work. Oftentimes, you will be asked to evaluate visual evidence to see whether it supports or challenges an argument in a text. This is something you'll have to do in many classes, history and science classes, as well as English, and questions about this particular skill are common on standardized exams. So this brings us to vampires, and specifically a very complicated idea about vampires that some Norwegian researchers wanted to test in 1994. Does garlic scare vampires away? This is a real study. They said something like, according to folklore, garlic repels vampires. We wished to verify this, but owing to the lack of vampires, we used leeches instead. Leeches, the real-life blood-sucking worms. So, like vampires, kinda. Based on the data, does garlic actually keep vampires away? Remembering that leeches here are our stand-ins for vampires. In a research setting, the leeches were presented with a hand smeared with garlic and a clean hand, with the expectation that they would attach themselves to one or the other. From our data, we conclude that the relationship between vampires and garlic is blank. So, here's the graph. What conclusions can you make about the traditional relationship between garlic and vampires? What does this graph say happens? What does the visual evidence tell you? I'm going to put a little music on. Feel free to pause the video and discuss or make your own guesses. All right, see you in a bit. The title of this graph is how long do leeches take to attach themselves to a hand, right? And we have two bars on the horizontal axis, the x-axis. One is with garlic, the other is without garlic. And over here on the y-axis, the vertical axis, we can see that the legend reads seconds. That's how many seconds the leeches took to attach. This graph is potentially confusing because it might seem like the bigger bar is the better one, right? But this is response time. How long do they take? So 14.9 seconds over here versus 44.9 seconds over here, the shorter the response time, the faster the leech latches on. What can we conclude from this study, therefore? What was the main conclusion of the study? Well, basically, the leeches went for the garlic-covered hand, the seasoned hand, much faster, 30 seconds faster on average than they went for the unseasoned hand. That means they like the garlicky hand more than the ungarlicky hand. And remember, tradition holds that garlic repels vampires. It sends them away. So from the results of this study, we can conclude that the tradition is wrong and vampires love garlic. If vampires and leeches are the same, yeah, it's a bit of a leap. Maybe this particular case feels silly, fine, but this is a useful skill. You will be asked to evaluate visual evidence to see whether it supports or challenges an argument in a text. A friend will send you an infographic about a political topic. You might look up stats for your favorite athlete. You might have to puzzle through a misleading graph on TV news. Understanding what data is trying to tell us is a core reading skill. Information. Now it's got numbers in it. Trademark. And now you've got numbers in you. Nice work. Watch out for leeches. You can learn anything. David out.